1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 10 Hamilton Funko Pops. 12 Hamilton Funko Pops. Today we are unboxing the entire Funko Pop cast of Broadway's Hamilton. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. That is right, friends. This video has been a long time in the making and I'm thrilled that today we finally get to dig into and unbox the first wave, well, the first 2 waves of Funko Pops in the Pop Broadway line. This is a big deal for me, friends. Friends, this is a big deal for me. I mean, if you know me, you know that 2 of my absolute favorite things after, like, Disney, Shakespeare, and Cats are Funko Pops and Broadway. Specifically musical theater Broadway, but I like plays. But no, musicals and Broadway have such a special place in my heart, and I never thought I would actually see the Funko Pop Broadway line become a real thing. I thought it was something I was just going to see in my imagination or on Instagram at Broadway Customs and more. Not a sponsor, just love their work. Check them out. But today, this video has been almost a year in the making. I have gotten my hands on the entire Funko Pop cast of Hamilton. It's actually almost the entire Hamilton line. I'm only missing one, but it's a variant of a character I already have, so as far as I'm concerned, I have the entire cast that they've released. And like I said, I've wanted to do this video for ages. It just took a long time for me to actually acquire all of these pops, but I have done it and I thought, you know what? What better time to release this video than on or around the 4th of July? And the timing actually worked out kind of perfectly because I'm recording this video a few days after June 24th, 2022. And as we all know, on that date, America went back in time about a couple hundred years and history has its eyes on them. So today we are doing a classic Teacup for One Funko Pop unboxing extravaganza. I'm going to show you each one of these figures. I'll give you a nice close-up look on them on the turn thing. It's actually so perfect because I have my turntable rotating display for Funko Pops, but like Hamilton, the entire set is essentially a giant turntable. This video could not have worked out more perfectly. Alright, without further ado, I am not throwing away my shot. Let's get into this collection, starting with number 1. This might be the first pop in my entire, like, 300 plus Funko Pop collection where I actually have number 1 of any given line. And of course, the thing that speaks to my heart, not only is it Hamilton, but this is number 1 in the Pop Broadway line. None other than Alexander Hamilton himself, as played by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And this is just the first of 3 Alexander Hamilton Funko Pops that we're going to dig into through this entire collection. So to be more specific, this is Alexander Hamilton in his Act 1 opening costume. Like, this is what he wears at the very beginning when he's a teenager, when he makes his way to New York City. And this is what I have to say. This is why, even though Hamilton's not my favorite musical, this is why Hamilton was the perfect Broadway show to launch the Pop Broadway line. Because the costumes in Hamilton are absolutely immaculate. And I think that's where we have the potential for the Pop Broadway line to blossom into something like absolutely mind-blowing, because Broadway costumes for certain shows and certain roles are so iconic, and truthfully, the clothing and the outfit is, I'd say, 90% of what makes a Funko Pop so visually appealing. I think it's a perfect marriage. So Hamilton, as we're going to see, is going to show us how Pops can immortalize the legacy of these beautiful Broadway costume designs. So again, I really love his overcoat. Something I find really interesting about this pop is his stance. I would have put money on the first Hamilton Funko Pop being him in, like, what is literally the logo, where he has his hand up. It's probably on the box. Yeah, see, it's right there on the box. It's in the logo. He's standing there, like, power stance. He's the tip of the star, and then he's got his hand up, his left hand up. He's pointing, like, I'm not throwing away my shot. Although, when I look at this pop, at first glance, it looks like he's doing this, like he's saying, listen to me. But I think this is probably the closest a Funko Pop can get to actually pointing up, just by nature of the pop design having the, like, oversized heads and the slightly smaller bodies. I think that's maybe what they were trying to do with this stance, and they didn't quite accomplish it. But I still really like the pop. So there we go. Alexander Hamilton, Pop number 1. Moving on, number 2 in the collection, Aaron Burr. Sir. Isn't it just so poetically perfect? that even in Funko Pop form, Aaron Burr is taking a backseat to Alexander Hamilton. But you know who's not taking a backseat? Leslie Odom Jr. Because who won the Tony?
Leslie Odom Jr.
And I'm just so happy that Funko made the decision to model all of these Funko Pops after the original Broadway performers, because now we have a Leslie Odom Jr. pop. But of course, we're talking about Aaron Burr, even though we love Leslie. Let's just dig into this Funko Pop. And I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like a broken record through this entire video, but I just love the detail in the costumes. You know, you see these Broadway costumes on stage, usually from a distance, and so fast there's movement happening that you don't get to appreciate the finer details, and I'm sure that this isn't an exact replica of what was on stage, but I'll take what I can get. Like, the number of buttons on this is beautiful, and just the hue, like this beautiful purple of his coat, I think it looks beautiful on stage. It looks beautiful in the Funko Pop, and I love the sculpt. I like his stance, especially when you put him up against Hamilton. When you see these two side by side, you can see the conflict just in their physicalities, because Hamilton is a very aggressive person. He's somebody who goes for what he wants, and this is a fairly active, aggressive stance. Whereas this Aaron Burr pop, he has a very casual, okay, casual is the wrong word. He has a very, like, internal, relaxed stance. And that is the brilliance of Leslie Odom Jr.'s performance, is that everything is so economical. Everything is so simple until it's not. Until the moments when he just commands the stage in those giant production numbers that he has, like Room Where It Happens, Wait For It. And this is my hot take. As brilliant as Leslie Odom Jr. was as Aaron Burr, I would have loved to have seen him play Hamilton. Now that's not to say, like, I don't want him as Burr. But if it could be like a Jesus Christ Superstar situation, you know, where the same performer revisits a show in, like, the antithetical role, that would be great. Because I think, like, Leslie Odom Jr. to me has that fire and that spirit that I want to see from Hamilton. I think Lin-Manuel, even though I don't know that he has the vocal capabilities to do justice to, I mean, the songs that he wrote himself for Aaron Burr, even though I don't know if vocally he could give us the same powerhouse performance as Burr that we got from Leslie Odom Jr., when I watch Lin-Manuel, I think there's a lot more vulnerability there. There's a lot more internalization there. And I really do feel like the spirits of those two actors complement the other roles more. But I don't know, just purely from an acting perspective, I'd be interested to see if, like, for one night only, those two switched roles. Like, what would that do to the production? Am I alone here? Would anyone else want to see that? Let me know. Anyway, let's move on. Number 3, Angelica, Renée Elise Goldsberry as Angelica Schuyler, the eldest Schuyler sister, the role that gave Renée Elise Goldsberry her Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Musical. Well-deserved. I mean, what can I say? This pop is epic. I have a very special place in my heart for Angelica Schuyler because the two of us actually share the same birthday. Different year, obviously, I would hope, but still. She is my Aquarius Pisces cusp sister. She's an absolute queen. We love her. I think this pop does an incredible job of establishing her power, because she's in a full-out power stance. And much like with Leslie Odom Jr., I think they've done an incredible job of capturing the spirit of the performer, of Renée Elise Goldsberry. Just the design and the simplicity of the design in this pop is beautiful. Much like Aaron Burr, there's a lot of power in the simplicity, both of her stance and just also in the costume. The thing that I love with all the Schuyler sisters costumes is that they just give this much-needed splash of color and vibrancy on stage. And with that said, let's move on to number 4. The one that has my heart. Eliza! Eliza Schuyler Hamilton. Eliza Schuyler, well, Skymotin. Hamilton. You really can't combine those names. I thought I was going to have a clever moment, but I didn't. Eliza, or specifically, Phillipa Sue as Eliza. To piggyback onto what I just said, this is a continuation of what I love with the Schuyler sisters' outfits. They give this much-needed splash of life and color. And the blue of Eliza's dress, it might be my favorite color on stage in the entire show. And I actually just realized I would need to go back and double check, but I think the vibrancy of her costumes fades as she gets older and more sad, and that is heartbreaking. Because I know in Burn, she's wearing, I think it's like a very pale blue, like almost a white. That's so sad. I wouldn't know because that Funko Pop doesn't exist, but it should. When I heard there were going to be Hamilton Funko Pops, I 100% expected all of the Schuyler sisters to be doing their Schuyler sisters work pose, you know, where they're snapping, arm up over the head, like that's one of the iconic visuals from the show. But instead what we got was this beautiful sculpt of Eliza, again, showing us that beautiful open energy. And I look at this and it reminds me of my favorite song. I would go as far as to say, yeah, my favorite song in the whole show, which is Helpless. I love Helpless musically. I don't know what it is. There's just something very, I don't know, optimistic and exciting about it. Paired with Phillipa Sue's voice, it just doesn't get any better than that. That is, I kid you not, probably my most played song on my phone as well as my Spotify account. And Phillipa Sue just has this beautiful, pure voice, and I cannot wait for her to be a Disney character. We know it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Because it's only a matter of time. That's from Back to the Future, the musical. Oof, I did a video about that. Okay, moving on. I think it's really funny that number 5 in the collection is not the next Schuyler sister. Number 5 is not and Peggy. I mean, Peggy's on her way. But first, the moment you've been waiting for. The Pride of Mount Vernon? Vernon? Again, I only like this show. I don't love it enough to quote it. Clearly I need to put more effort into memorizing these songs. Anyway, it's George Washington. George Washington is next in the collection. The first thing that stands out to me about the George Washington pop is the hat. Truthfully, just because I look at it and think I could probably pull off that hat. And I know I've already gone on my little rant about how much I love that these pops are embodying the actors, but for how simple the Funko Pop faces are, like it's just two dead eyes, eyebrows, and then like that's it. But this looks like Christopher Jackson. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me. So I think that's cool. This is the first pop that we've seen so far in the collection who actually has an accessory, which is the sword, and I love that. This is my first time taking a really good look at the sword, and I love the detailing in the hilt. That's the handle part of the sword, I think. I almost failed the written portion of my stage combat test when I had to name the parts of a sword, but I think it's the hilt. It's the part that you hold. Anyway, what I'm saying here is that it could have been so easy for them just to make it a solid piece, but there is actual stylization and detailing in the hilt slash handle piece. Like, there's holes. It's incredible. It looks like a sword that you would see on stage in a period piece, and that just makes my nerdy theater person heart so happy. I also love the rich royal blue that they have of his coat, and that's something that we're going to see. Like, it's not unique to George Washington. That's a color that pops up in a lot of the guys' costumes throughout the musical, and we're going to see it in a couple more pops. But if Eliza's blue dress is my favorite color on stage, the royal blue of like the Revolution coats, it's a very close second. And with this pop specifically, the use of yellow is brilliant. And I guess that's also a testament again to the costume and the prop design. Just between the sword as well as the buttons and then the shoulder pads, the yellow absolutely pops against the blue in a way that, like, it gives this guy authority. And that is what you want from the first president of the United States. Authority. Hey, speaking of yellow, let's move on to the Funko Pop that nobody cares about in this collection. Number 6, and Peggy. The box, okay, to be clear, the box doesn't actually say "and Peggy," it just calls her Peggy Schuyler. But fun fact, Funko did a limited release of the Schuyler sisters as their own special box set. It was the same sculpt, they just came all in one box. But on that box, it called her "and Peggy." And if you know, you know. And it's bleeping hilarious. So the "and Peggy" pop, that's what I'm calling her. I can just echo all the same things that I said about Angelica and Eliza. I think the sculpt does a great job of evoking her physical presence. Something I found extra fascinating about this pop when I was photographing her, and it's something that you don't even really notice until you actually like take out the camera and start taking pictures, is that her sculpt has a very open physicality. And when I say open physicality, I mean Like I said, Angelica has that power stance. Eliza has that open, like, I'm singing Helpless stance. But what I found when I was photographing Peggy was that it almost looked like her chin was up and like she was overcompensating to be like, hey guys, look at me. And I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if it's just a weird thing about the specific Peggy that I have, that maybe her head is tilted up a little bit. But even if it's not, I think it's so perfect for Peggy, because she's the one who always falls into the background, and I do think that out of the three sisters, if anyone's going to be overcompensating and trying to like make themselves physically bigger and get more attention, it would be her. I mean, I do think that the yellow of the dress is beautiful. Is this a pop that I would want to get on its own? Absolutely not. I only got her because she had to complete the trio of the Schuyler sisters. And let's be honest, that's kind of the tragedy of Peggy, both historically and also as a character in Hamilton. The show is written so that the actress who plays Peggy really doesn't get her moment to shine until Act 2, when she plays Mariah Reynolds, and that role is fantastic. That is when you get to see the true vocal powerhouse that this performer is. I mean, obviously in the original Broadway cast, it's Jasmine, and we love Jasmine. I am still holding out and hoping that we get a Mariah Reynolds Funko Pop so that Jasmine's legacy as Mariah can be cemented. But if we just get her as and Peggy, that's kind of a hilarious legacy in and of itself. Alright, moving on. Alright, now we have hit a very important point in the Hamilton Funko Pop collection. I would almost go as far as to say that we have hit like the pop intermission, because these 6 figures were the first 6 that were released in Wave 1. So not only are they the first 6 Hamilton Pops, they're also the first 6 Broadway Funko Pops, and I know, like, I'm latching on to that, but it still makes me really happy. So the next 2 Pops that we're going to go into are actually special edition Pops, or not even special edition, but like exclusives. Harder to get. Finding these 2 Pops, like, it wasn't difficult, but it also wasn't easy. Number 7, Alexander Hamilton. Again. Now remember, I said there are 3 Hamiltons in the collection, and this is the second one that released. And fun fact, this is actually the first Hamilton Pop that I bought out of the entire set. It's a Walmart exclusive, and this is one of those very rare times I actually stumbled on this figure in a Canadian Walmart. If you're Canadian, I think you can appreciate what a, like, Broadway miracle that was. As soon as I saw him, I knew I had to have him. And it was actually harder for me to track down Common Hamilton, like number 1 in the set, than it was for me to find this guy. And this might be my favorite Pop in the entire set. Obviously, it's the title character, but going back to what I was saying about George Washington, these blue Revolutionary coats are probably my favorite costume piece in the entire musical. I mean, if I got to be in Hamilton, I know that that would be my favorite thing to wear. Like, I almost want to get one commissioned so I could just wear it in my day-to-day life. It's so cool. It makes me so happy. It makes my heart so happy that Lin-Manuel is being immortalized and cementing his legacy. It's a theme of Hamilton. I'm going to keep saying it throughout this video. But cementing his legacy as a Pop. Because, you know, I think once or twice in every generation you get that Broadway composer who kind of reinvigorates the genre and makes it accessible. So before him it would have probably been Jonathan Larson in the 90s. And, you know, Lin-Manuel, he's the Broadway guy for the Funko Pop generation. That's really the only way to put it. And it also speaks to the narcissistic part of my heart, because I've been told more than once that I don't look unlike Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I think the physical similarities between the two of us are enough that when they make Pops of Lin, they kind of look like Pops of me. I mean, you see it more so with the Jack the Lamplighter Pop. I mean, he's wearing my hat, but still. This speaks to my narcissistic mad heart in the best way possible. Alright, number 8. Give it up for America's favorite fighting Frenchman, Lafayette. I can't rap, I'm sorry. Lafayette, Daveed Diggs as Lafayette. This was a convention exclusive. I didn't know if I'd be able to find it, and then as luck would have it, he was available on Amazon more or less at retail price. So, like, that was a very happy day for me when I was able to get him, but, oh, Lafayette, guns and ships. I just can't handle the performance that Daveed Diggs puts in with that number. Again, It won him a Tony Award as well. We have so many Tony Award winners immortalized as Pops. If there's a Broadway patter song, you just have my heart and you have my attention. Like, I've listened to Sondheim's Not Getting Married Today probably about 20 times this past week. Just different renditions. Like, if I latch onto a song, that's it for me. Guns and Ships. Oh, it's like the Not Getting Married Today of the 21st century. I can't. He puts in like 6 words per second. It's incredible. And much like I was saying with the Eliza pop, the physicality and the overall design of the Lafayette pop is just so evocative of that number to me. I look at this and I start hearing Guns and Ships. Much like with the George Washington figure, again, we're getting this amazing pop of yellow up against the royal blue. I actually love the embellishments on the tails of his coat at the back, which I don't think we've seen with any of the previous figures that have been wearing coats with tails. Maybe we were and I wasn't paying attention, but I'm paying attention now. And I like it. I also think it's interesting to note that the 2 exclusive pops, or like the 2 limited edition pops in the collection, are characters that are both wearing the revolutionary coats. And I'm wondering if that's because they didn't want to repeat a similar look in the costumes in the common collection. Because like I said, the George Washington pop has that beautiful royal blue coat, and one of the most beautiful things like in the show is seeing all the characters during wartime wearing those blue coats. And I think only like the die-hard Hamilton fans would invest the time, money, and energy into getting more than one character wearing some variant of that costume. But that's me, and I did it, and I have no regrets. Moving on. Guns and ships, and all the ships. I just realized I can put on Hamilton with the toys. Pardon me, are you Aaron Burr, sir? That depends. Who's asking? Oh, well, sure. Sir, I'm Alexander Hamilton. I'm at your service, sir. I have been looking for you. I'm getting nervous. So this is what it feels like to match wits with someone on your level. What the hell is the catch? It's the feeling, the freedom of being the right. It's Ben Franklin with the key and the kite. You see it, right? All right, and now we move into the final quarter. Sorry, the final third. Last 4 ones. These are the second official wave of common Hamilton pops. These only released a few months ago, and they were actually the ones when I saw them I thought, you know what? This collection is something special and something I need to have. So, moving into number 8 in the collection, Alexander Hamilton. Again, because you can never have too many Hamilties. Is that the plural of Hamiltons? Maybe it's just Hamiltons. Anyway, it's Act 2, Alexander Hamilton, in his bougie green outfit. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is probably my least favorite outfit that he wears in the entire musical, and is this the outfit when he also has his old man half-moon glasses? Because if it is, I feel robbed that Funko didn't give him the old man half-moon glasses, but neither here nor there. I do appreciate the vibrancy of the green, both in the actual costume as well as in this pop. I think it's interesting to note that this is the first Hamilton pop where he doesn't have a ponytail. His hair is just out, which of course is hand in hand with his presentation in the musical. It's also interesting comparing his stance in this sculpt to Hamilton number 1, because it's pretty similar with a few differences. We still have the clenched right hand fist, and instead of his left hand pointing, his left hand is now out. I know it's a small difference, but I think it makes all the difference in establishing this Hamilton as a guy who's more in control, more in power. Instead of him pointing, being like, you're gonna listen to me, I'm not throwing away my shot, his hand is open like, give me all the things that I'm telling you I deserve. I do also appreciate the buckles on his shoes. Like, that's a cool embellishment that we haven't seen in any of the other pops. They've just been wearing pretty generic black shoes. So, I don't know, out of the second wave of pops, he's probably my least favorite, but I do still think there are a lot of cool details about him. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon about my least favorite pop in Wave 2, because now we're looking at James Madison. So, Funko Brain? We'll never know, because I'm not one of those idiots on TikTok that's going to saw open my Funko Pop to see if there's a brain inside. Because you know what? Even if there is a brain, then I ruined my cool toy. Anyway, James Madison. Oh, first thing I'm noticing, he also has the cool buckles on his shoes that Act 2 Alexander has. Now, I won't lie, this was truthfully probably the pop that I was least excited for when Wave 2 was announced. Now that I have him in hand, I do like this figure more than Act 2 Alexander. I think my issue is just that James Madison is not the most interesting character in Hamilton. I mean, he is played by the same actor that plays Hercules Mulligan, and I think Mulligan Like, that's the character that I remember over James Madison. And I think it's easy for James Madison to be overshadowed by Thomas Jefferson, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, I don't know, at first glance, this pop kind of reminds me of that old painting, The Blue Boy, just because of the nature of his outfit. But there is a lot of detailing on this pop that I'm really only seeing now that I have it in hand, that I don't think the glam shot necessarily does justice to. Yeah, so in terms of the sculpt, for the costume, we're seeing the same level of intricacy that we've seen with the other pops, but there's more color detailing, which I very much appreciate. So you see like the yellow of his vest underneath the overcoat. Like I mentioned, we have the buckles, and then just on like behind him, he's holding a handkerchief. This is just, you know, when you see the promo images and the glam shots for these pops, they're usually just from the front. So I never have any expectations for what the back of the pop is going to look like. I love this. But really the best thing about this figure is the detail in the papers that he's holding. Because of course he's holding the Reynolds pamphlet.
Have you read this?
And at least in the pops that I collect, I don't usually get to see intricate printed detailing. So whenever I do, it's a thrill. And again, this is one of those small details that the glam shots don't do justice to. But in his hand, you can actually read the Reynolds pamphlet. I mean, not word for word, but like the headings, like it says observation. Okay, the letters are really small and my eyes aren't what they used to be, but then they say something else and it says Alexander Hamilton. There's a big T. The point is, he's holding the actual papers, and the Reynolds pamphlet is a bunch of people's favorite songs. Not mine, but if it was my favorite song, I'd be pretty darn happy that I have a pop from that song. So yeah, James Madison, stand-up pop. And there might be a brain inside, but we'll never know. Next, number 11. The pop that I am amazed, shocked, astounded, and shooketh was not included with Wave 1. All I can think is that they knew they had a wild card with this pop that would invigorate interest in Wave 2, and boy oh boy did it ever. King George, the character that was like made to be a Funko Pop, and this pop did not disappoint. This has to be one of the most detailed, beautiful, opulent, the most extra of pops in my entire collection. Bleep and look at it. I think the pop speaks for itself. Aesthetically, this is one of the most beautiful Funko Pops, not only in this collection, but I would probably say that's ever been created. Not just because of the sculpt, but just the level of color and detail. Especially when you look at the crown, there are so many finite details, like for the jewels, and the paint job is relatively even across the board. And now that, like, I'm not trying to be weird by looking up his pants, except this is the beauty of Funko detailing. You don't see anything because the cape is in the way, and it would be really hard for me to get a shot, but you just have to trust me. They did not skimp on the detailing. I know it just looks like I'm looking at his butt. I'm not. They did not skimp on the detailing on the back of his coat. I mean, it's the same that we've seen with the other characters wearing coats. We still have those buttons. We still see the creases in the design. And I mean, like, that's just next level attention to detail on Funko's part. The only thing it's missing is Jonathan Goff's spit.
What comes next?
Alright, last and certainly not least, Thomas Jefferson's coming home. Number 12, Daveed Diggs as Thomas Jefferson. I think it's a weird choice that they made Thomas Jefferson number 12 and not King George. Like, I would think the King would want to be fashionably late, unless this is an in-joke because his whole song is What Did I Miss? And maybe because he's the last Funko Pop in the collection, it's like, what did I miss? Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it. I probably am, but that's the brand on this channel. And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but everything that we've seen with the other pops in this collection that made them so beautiful, we're seeing here again. The design of the coat, that pop of color, a color that's unique to this character, and just giving new life to a costume pattern and the design that we've seen repeated through the other characters. I think that's great. And something that's so cool is that by introducing Thomas Jefferson into the Hamilton Funko Pop collection, this is the first time that we're seeing two different characters as portrayed by the same actor in Funko Pop form. One of the absolute joys of Hamilton is just seeing how the double casting works and getting to see performers flexing different muscles in different roles. Like, there's a reason that Daveed Diggs won for Best Supporting Actor at the Tonys in whatever year that was. And this is it. What did I miss? Guns and sheeps. What did I miss? Guns and ships. Okay, Hamill fans. Is that what we call ourselves? Okay, I feel like such an imposter Hamilton fan. But you know what I'm not an imposter fan of? Funko Pops and Broadway musicals. I think this has converted me into a true Hamill fan. And if that's not what we're calling ourselves, I've coined it now. That's officially the name. But I think, in all seriousness, Funko and the original cast of Hamilton deserve a standing ovation for this collection. Well, more so Funko. They're the ones who designed it. But also, standing ovation for the original cast for being part of and creating a musical that really revolutionized, pun kind of intended, musical theater for a new generation. So, standing ovation. So I think it's no secret. I'm thrilled by this line, but also just thrilled by the idea of maybe having more Broadway pops somewhere in Funko's future. I think inevitably we're going to get a third wave of Hamilton pops, and if and when that happens, I'm hoping we're going to see Mariah Reynolds in the red dress, Ariana DeBose as the Bullet, an additional look or an outfit for Aaron Burr. He does have his purple Dear Theodosia outfit, but I would love to see him in just his plain black suit that he wears for Room Where It Happens, or even like that epic robe deal that he wears for the duel. And because we need a fourth, I don't know, like Eliza holding the Reynolds pamphlet burning, because burn. But aside from Hamilton, I know I would love to see more Broadway shows represented in the Broadway Pop collection. I don't know if there are any shows that could sustain their own line. I mean, obviously, pick any show. It's going to have a ton of beautiful costumes that deserve to be immortalized as Funko Pops. But Funko is a business, so they need to pick something with brand appeal. With that in mind, I think the most realistic successor or follow-up show would probably be Wicked, maybe Phantom of the Opera. But what I would love to see is something similar to what Funko did when the Pops were brand new, like what they did with Disney in those original blue blocks? In those original blue box collections. You just label it as Pop Broadway, and it's not tied down to any specific show. You just pick a character from a different show and make that the collection. So we could have an Elphaba, we could have a Glinda, we could have a Phantom, we could have Evan Hansen. I don't want it, but I know a lot of other people would. Personally, in my heart of hearts, and I know it's never going to happen, but I would love to see an original Broadway cast reproduction of the original cast of Into the Woods, because those costumes, they kind of fly under the radar, but beautiful. And Funko didn't give us Pops when the Into the Woods movie came out, which, let's be honest, probably for the best that we're not reminded that that movie happened at all, but still, I want Into the Woods merch. Damn it. Anyway, friends, with that, where's my teacup? Anyway, friends, with that, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup 4-1. Now let me know in the comment section down below which Hamilton Funko Pop is your favorite, but more importantly, which Broadway show or Broadway character would you like to see popified next? And if you want to be the first to know when I release more videos talking about Broadway, musicals, Funkos, usually Disney, Shakespeare, and cats, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And if you haven't subscribed already, it is so easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup for 1. I am not throwing away my... Oops.